Welcome back. Today we're going to be continuing our journey on the Niles to South Bend Abandoned Line Revisited. This is part two. Part one, we've kind of covered a lot of the history, but now we're going to really be getting into the heart of the line. So this is going to be heavy with pictures and with a few maps. Again, this was the David Korkhouse slideshow presentation that he presented in November of 2023. We've pretty much left this untouched as far as the slides go, but I'll be adding commentary and expanding on a few things. And there's other videos on here at the Niles South Bend line, but most of these pictures are never before seen, so they're not in any of the other videos. So this is all new stuff if you've already watched some of the other videos. But I guess if you really love South Bend to Niles, you can never have enough, right? So let's just get started here. We'll just take a quick look at this overview map just to get our bearings straight again if you're just joining us for the first time. Again, we have a map here of Michigan and Indiana, and Niles to South Bend is this line pretty much here that we're examining. And today we're going to really be focusing kind of on the part from Niles to the state line. So this is what we're going to be looking at here very closely. And we'll even take a little bit of a side trip on the Benton Harbor secondary, just to where it branched off of the Niles to South Bend. Here's a good look at an old track chart. We're going to be looking at these charts periodically as we progress southward, because they really give a good detailed look at the area that we're looking at. A lot of detail in here. It shows a lot of sightings. It's not totally to scale, but it even shows the grade information. You see these lines down here at the bottom refer to what the actual grade is of the track. And then, of course, you have all of the streets and roads. And you see these little circles with F's in the middle. These indicates the streets and roads that had flashers, crossing signal flashers. So we can even see that, and we'll kind of look here now at where we're going to be honing in on as we move south. To the right is north, to the left is south, and here we are at the Niles main line, and where the South Bend Niles starts. Simplicity pattern is the shots we'll see first with the train going by their properties. There were passing tracks there. At between Wayne and Howard Street, there was a double track, and there was even a siding that don't show here, but right at Howard Street, a siding went into the yard of Ristance Wire, at least in later years under Conrail. And then the street running portion, which covered multiple streets here, such as Cedar, Ferry, Regency, Cherry, and then at Michigan Street is where the street running ended. Then we had other streets. Highway 12 is the big highway down here, and Niles Junction, we'll be talking quite a bit about that. That is where the Benton Harbor line branched off, and back in the old days, the Big Four came right through there, and then the French paper spur branched off of the Benton Harbor secondary. And they also show a little bit of a bridge here. Under Conrail, that was called a dry creek, and I think basically that kind of was the area of Niles Junction. Also, there was a siding here for a lumber yard back in the day. Here's that simplicity pattern that we looked at on the map. This was the transfer NSB1 that was starting to head south towards South Bend, coming by Simplicity on a cold winter day. Another shot here, the same location. They had boxcar loading docks for Simplicity, and as I understand it, this was later used by French paper to receive some loads back when service ended there around 2000. But this train would have just been coming up to Wayne Street. Now we're going to focus in on the street running. This first shot will be 9th and Main in 1974. Here we see the transfer freight approaching Main Street. This would be Main Street here. It did have signals, and the street running at this time ran right down the middle of the street on 9th, north of Main. But south of Main, it kind of ran right alongside the street and then did join back into the middle of 9th until it reached Michigan Street. I've decided we are going to show a couple videos here, a few of them, because these are Dave Korkhouse's also. So here's a little video clip from this same location. No sound on these. Again, Main and 9th Street. This is actually the video that a lot of the pictures were taken from, and the complete video is on the channel. Rail fans love the street running on the south side of Niles. 9th Street 74 again in a football special. This would have been heading south toward South Bend. This is from the NIRS archives. Another shot here. This was at Regent Street of a freight heading south towards South Bend. I believe this was a Strombeck photo. A good winter shot here of street running somewhere on 9th Street. Approaching Michigan Street, the caption says, but I'm not totally sure about that. Another good shot here. This looks pretty close to the edge of the street, so I'm thinking this is probably the south portion of 9th Street as they're getting close to Michigan Street. Another look at the same location, South 9th Street, approaching Michigan Street, southbound freight. Now we're going to zero in on that Niles Junction here, and you'll see a picture here shortly, and this kind of describes what we're going to be looking at. It was kind of a complicated flyover. I believe this was like from the 1930s. And one mislabeled part here, the top track we're going to see, it has it listed as St. Joe Valley Electric Railway. That would have actually been the South Bend, Southern Michigan, which later became the Northern Indiana Railroad, which was the electric railroad that paralleled this line. Here's that picture here, and we'll describe it in detail. This is Niles Junction once again from the 1930s. Here, this track we see at the top was the electric line with the train on it. The middle line here was the Niles to South Bend, and the bottom line was the Benton Harbor to Niles line. This would have been kind of looking to the west-northwest. Now again, this Big Four line at the bottom, as it was called, was actually called the Cleveland, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis. And the portion from Niles to Elkhart was abandoned in 1942, but it still continued on as the Benton Secondary up into Conrail into the early 80s. And that just ran from Niles to Benton Harbor, and then the branch off of that, the French Paper Spur. That portion of it still existed almost until 2000. This is a look at that area in more modern times when everything was gone. This was kind of that little dry creek bed, as Conrail had it labeled in their maps. But it was just basically a smaller bridge at this time. This train would have been headed south, getting ready to approach US 12. Another look at that same shot, which It looks like that Clark equipment on it. So this would have been a train that would have came out of Benton Harbor. Here's a look at the timetable for the Benton Harbor moves. It looks here like there was a daily train, except Saturday and Sunday, that came south out of Benton Harbor, departing at 5 o'clock, and then arriving in Niles at 9, and then a Saturday train that left at 11:45 in the morning and arrived in Niles at 1:30, and then a northbound section daily, which left Niles at 2:30 and arrived in Benton Harbor at 4:15, and a Saturday only, leaving Niles at 10 and arriving in Benton Harbor at 11:30. Take a look here a little bit on that Benton secondary, like we said here. This was under the Michigan Central at Niles Junction. So this is looking at the Benton secondary in Niles. That's Front Street to the left, and we're looking south on Front Street. This was taken off of the Amtrak bridge, the ex-Michigan Central line, and this was a train that was headed up to Benton Harbor. Over to the right was Kurt Concrete, the cement plant. Most of that area now is park. Now we're going to take a look at the area northbound from Niles Junction. This would be right at 4th and 3rd Street, where the Benton secondary crossed pretty much right at the intersection. And this would be kind of looking southeastward towards Niles Junction, but this train is northbound, headed toward Benton Harbor on a cold winter's day, I believe in the 70s. Now off to the right here, out of the picture, is where the French spur ran through, and also crossed pretty close right to the intersection, but this here is the Benton secondary. A little bit of video of the train approaching the same location. Fort and 3rd Street, Niles, Michigan. Benton secondary. The old Big Four, as it was called. This operated into the early 80s. Looking at the other side of this street here, we see that same train northbound towards Benton Harbor. And this part of the line here now, this is bike trail. This is the bike trail that goes right through into Niles, right by the river. I think they call it the Niles River Walk, but it's all part of the large Indiana and Michigan River Valley Trail, which is what they pretty much call the entire bike trail all the way down to South Bend. Now we're down at Highway 12. All does not go well. August 22nd, 1975, and an undated photo following. Here we are at Highway 12 looking south. We believe this was a train that was working the tank farm area south of Highway 12 and then was backing to get back towards Niles, and was hit by a truck and suffered a little bit of damage there, particularly on the walkway railings. And you also see the signal that was evident, as we talked about earlier. Another shot of that caboose there, derailed, and the crew figuring out what the next moves are. You kind of see more of those signals here. They didn't have gates, but they did have just a separate signal right in the median between the double lanes of Highway 12, but it was just signals with flashers and bells. Another look at the righting of that caboose, bringing a crane in to aid on the process of getting it back on the track. This was a damaged locomotive, I believe that came out of Kalamazoo. and I'm not exactly sure where this location was. Now I'll take a look at another map here to hone in some more now of where we're going to be going as we progress southward. This time it looks like we're looking southward. South is up top here. North is at the bottom. So we just passed Highway 12. And next up would be Bell Road and Fulkerson Road. At Fulkerson Road, there was a siding that went into the tank farm, and under Conrail times, there was actually 2 sidings that went in there. And then you also see another siding here that came out just south of Fulkerson and also crossed Fulkerson. That was a boxcar served building. I believe it was Niles Packaging at that time, and then it might have changed names. And then down at Bertrand Road, there was a passing siding there, and that was a team track where a lumber yard would receive shipments. And again, looking at all these F marks, you see which roads had signals. Fulkerson had signals, and Bertrand had signals. Southbound at Fulkerson Road, the oil farm, January 30th, 77. This is a good shot looking north. You kind of see over to the left back here, that would have been the tank farm, and you kind of see here a little bit of one of the sidings here. But like I say, in later years, there were actually 2, and then the one just south of the road. But a good look here at the southbound transfer, NSB1. Same location, this time in a rougher winter. Good shot of plowing of snow. Here's a look at the speed restrictions on a lot of the lines here. And we can see here in the middle, if we look, the South Bend branch, passenger was 30 miles per hour. Flexi van 30, freight and work trains 30, and wrecking cranes 30. Not exactly sure what the date on this was, but it gives a good idea here what speeds were like at that time. You even see here the South Haven branch, which had speeds of 20, and of course the main line 80 for passenger. Boy, how about that? Slowest speed was 45 for wrecking cranes, but freight and work trains were 60. Here's a look at what the speed limits were like on the South Bend to Niles line itself. Curbs through Niles were 15. Niles from Lake Street to city limits 15. Notre Dame on turnout to HF was 20. Between Notre Dame and South Bend city limits on curves, just 25, and South Bend within city limits 15. So I'm assuming this would have been in the late 70s period, because the track wasn't quite all that good, and so those slow speeds kind of make a lot of sense. Here we are now at Bertrand Road, and that's a good shot there of the train coming down south. We see that north side switch for that passing track there, and the team track where boxcars and lumber cars would be set out for the lumber yard. This was a grocery and then I guess a hardware store at one point in time. Another shot of that same location. It looks like this is definitely going back older with one of the Notre Dame football trains. Only signage in place at that time for the crossings, no flashers, and it looks like it was a grocery then. Same location again with a closer look at the train heading southward. The video, in fact, there's 2 videos on the channel that actually shows the video of a lot of these pictures, and it actually does show them maneuvering a boxcar here on that team track. Short video here of the train actually operating at Bertrand Road. This would be looking southward. As I said, this was a team track where, for one thing, lumber was left for a local lumber yard. So that is probably what is in this boxcar that they are setting out. It's a great shot. Good look at the condition of track there. Now we're going to continue to progress southward even more. Again, we just looked at the Bertrand Road, and this was the sighting here we were talking about. Okay, here's an updated map now that shows us going further south, the areas we're going to be covering. We just left Bertrand Road here, and next would have been Ontario Road and then State Line Road. That's where we start to move into Indiana, and then we'll be getting into David Korkhouse's main work area, which was kind of right in here between Adams and State Line Road, and we'll be talking in detail about that and his junction called Palisades, which was right in here. We'll really get into that, and after Adams, Aunton Road, but we'll get into this area now in a big way. State Line Road, Michigan into Indiana. And here we are now at State Line Road, the divider between Michigan and Indiana. And this was the southbound train. And over to the left was a bar, Kubiak's Tavern, which is still there today. This, of course, now is the bike trail. And to the south of the road, there's a lot of modern industry now at this point. Another closer look, same location, same train. And we just have to look at a video of the train crossing at that same location. State Line Road. Michigan and Indiana state line. Trains coming in from Michigan and heading into Indiana. And the locomotive rocking, as well as the cars. I think this will be a good stopping point for part 2. Special thanks to all the individuals here listed that helped Dave when he put this slideshow together, whether it be pictures, diagrams, charts, even just plain old advice. They were all instrumental in some way, and of course, this is entirely David Korkhouse's work. We give him special thanks for letting us use this slideshow and giving us the permission to do our own narration of it. Next time we will be looking at part 3 as we continue southward on the Niles to South Bend line. We're going to keep moving southward. In fact, we're going to end up all the way down at Semple and Olive before this is all over. This slideshow has well over 200 pictures and maps in it, so it's a lot of material to get through. Again, if you're new to the channel, some people just get pushed here by YouTube. If you're interested in Niles to South Bend, be sure to check out the other videos on here about it. There are several. In fact, there's even a simulated cab ride using the trains program, kind of how the line used to look. It's the closest thing we have to a cab ride so far. So I invite anybody that's new to check out all our videos. And again, thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.